Victoria's real reason surfaced. Not for love, and definitely not for closure, but for revenge. You think I left because I didn't love him? She told Adaeze privately. And why? Adaeze said. Victoria's expression hardened. Because he chose his company over me. I'm not here to take him back. No. I'm here to take everything he chose instead of me. And for the first time, Precious wasn't the strongest woman in the room. She knows him in ways I do not, she admitted to Adaeze. And Adaeze nodded. But you see him in ways she never did. Precious shook her head. And what if that's not enough? Gradually, everything started exploding. Deals collapsing, secrets being exposed, and emotions boiling. Victoria stood in front of Dave. Choose, she said calmly. Me or the life you built without me. And Precious stood behind him, in silence, waiting and not begging. Dave closed his eyes briefly and turned. But wait, who did he choose? But before he could, Precious walked away first. Not because she lost, but because for the first time, she refused to compete for love. And Dave called her name several times and she didn't stop. Victoria watched, smiling slightly, because in her mind, the damage was already done. Dave didn't just lose Precious to someone else. He lost her to herself. Weeks passed, and Precious became more feisty. She was bolder than ever. On that morning, getting to work, she walks in confident, like she was the only one important in the room. Dave called her name, Precious, wait. And she didn't. Not because she didn't hear him, but because she chose not to. And that evening, something shifted permanently. No tears, no dramatic breakdown, just a quiet decision. Never again, Precious said. Never again will I be in this situation with a man that clearly doesn't see my worth. Months later, Precious wasn't the same woman. She was sharper, colder, and untouchable. Promoted, respected, and feared. She didn't enter rooms anymore. She owned them. Her style changed too, but still bold and still striking. And now, less for attention and more for authority. Men still wanted her. But now, they didn't dare approach carelessly. Dave tried everything. He called, sent messages, late-night visits, but nothing. You can't ignore me forever, he said. But when he finally cornered her in the office, she didn't even look up from her desk, and she kept on working on her laptop. I'm not ignoring you. I'm only prioritizing myself. And that line broke him. He wasn't used to this, not being heard and not being felt. I made a mistake, Dave said. But Precious nodded calmly. Yes, you did. That's it. What else do you want me to say? You want a speech? No, I want a chance. And she closed her laptop slowly. You had one. And just like that, she walked past him again. And Adaeze watched closely. Precious, you still love him? No, I do not, Precious said calmly. I just don't need him anymore. And that was worse. Because this wasn't anger, this was detachment. Yet, Victoria wasn't done. If she couldn't have Dave, no one else would. She launched a silent attack. Business deals collapsing, false accusations, reputation damage, and Dave was drowning. And for the first time, he had no control. Precious saw everything, every move, and every manipulation. She could have stayed out of it and let him fall, let him feel what she felt. But she didn't. Not for him, but for herself. "I'll handle Victoria," she said. And Dave looked at her surprised. "Why?" She met his eyes. "Because I do not lose." Precious vs. Victoria. Not emotional, but strategic. "You are playing with old emotions," Precious said calmly. Victoria smiled. "And you? You are pretending to have none." "I don't play with things that can destroy me," Victoria whispered, stepping closer. "That's why you will never win with him." Precious tilted her head slightly. "I don't need him to win. I already chose myself." And that confidence, that certainty, it shook Victoria for the very first time. And they finally understood that this wasn't just about getting her back. It was about becoming someone worthy of her again. "I don't want control," he told her. "I just want you, Precious." So, Precious studied him, long and silent. "But careful. You don't just want me when it's convenient," she said quietly. "You choose me every time, even when it's hard." "I will," Dave said. "You've said that before. And I will prove it to you now. Just let me earn your trust again." And Victoria's last attack failed completely because of Precious. But Precious didn't celebrate, didn't even soften, and she didn't run into Dave's arms. She walked away again. And weeks passed, no pressure, no pursuit, just consistency and respect. Dave changed. He became more intentional. And Precious noticed. Of course she did. She noticed everything. And one quiet evening, Dave found her again. He didn't ask and he didn't push. "I'm here," he said simply. Precious looked at him. Not the man who was confused of her, and not the man who hurt her, but the man who stayed, even when she walked away. "You're different now," she said. "And so are you, Precious." "I'm not the same woman you met," she added. "I know, and I won't tolerate what I used to." "I know," Dave said again. A deep pause and a heavy realization. Precious stepped closer, not fully in and not fully out. "One chance," she said. "Not because I need you, but because I choose you." And Dave nodded. That was enough, more than enough for me. So moving forward, no pressure and no grand gestures, just action. One morning, a package arrived at Precious' office, clean, elegant, and a note inside. A pair of heels, exactly her taste, and exactly her size. Stared at it for a second, and then her phone buzzed. "Dave, for the meeting tonight, you said details matter. No crowded place and no noise. I'm taking you out on a date." It was a beautiful restaurant. Dave stood when she walked in, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. "You look," he started, and Precious raised a brow. "Careful." He smirked slightly. "Like yourself, and I've missed that." The dinner wasn't forced, no tension, just conversations, real and honest. And for the first time, she wasn't performing, and he wasn't trying to impress. Days turned into moments, small intentional moments. He picked her up early on mornings, no meeting, she asked. I cancelled them. Why? He opened the car door for her. Because today isn't about work. I'm taking you shopping. You don't need to buy me things, she said. I know. Then why are you buying them? Dave looked at her calmly. Because I want to be part of your world and not just your problems. And that line stayed with her. Dave took her to clubs. They had fun. Precious stepped in like she owned that club. And Dave, he didn't just try to control her or didn't restrict her. He didn't compete. He matched her energy and stayed close, watching her laugh, held her waist just enough to remind her that he was here. At one point, she leaned in, teasing, "Can you keep up?" And Dave's voice dropped slightly. "I don't need to keep up. I just need to stay with you." And that hit differently. When they were done having all the fun, they walked back home. Back at her place, no rush and no pressure. Just soft, heavy, and meaningful. "You're being careful," she said quietly. "No, I'm being intentional." "Why?" And Dave stepped closer. "Because you're not someone I handle casually." He brushed a strand of hair from her face, slow, gentle, and respectful. And for once, Precious didn't pull away. Adaeze, her roommate and her best friend, noticed immediately. "You are glowing," she said, and Precious rolled her eyes slightly. "I'm not glowing." "But you are soft." "No, I'm not soft." And Adaeze smirked. "You are in trouble, oh Precious, sure you know." But Precious didn't respond. Later that night, she sat alone, thinking, because this wasn't the usual game. This wasn't control. This felt like peace. And just like that, "You're doing everything right," she told Dave. "And that scares you?" "Yes, it does." "What if I get used to this?" she asked. "Then I'll make sure you never have to unlearn it." Her chest tightened slightly. Because that was exactly how her mother started. But Dave didn't argue with her. And he didn't dismiss her fear. "I'm not here to replace your past," he said. "I'm here to build something different." He took her hand, not forcefully, just there. "You can walk anytime," he added, "but I'm not going anywhere." The next day, Precious stood in front of her mirror again. Same girl, same beauty, same power, but just different eyes. Dave walked in behind her, quiet, calm, and certain. She looked at him through the mirror. "You're really staying, are you?" "Yes, I am." And she turned and walked up to him. Not guarded, not distant, and not running. "Okay," she said softly. And this time, when he held her, she didn't think about leaving. For the first time in her life, love didn't feel like a trap. It felt like a choice she actually wanted to make.